Hello everyone, welcome back to Logical Magic, Examining Esoterica. Hey guys, today we are continuing in the Law of Attraction series. We're talking about mastering detachment. Detachment is one of the basic principles in the Law of Attraction. I'm going to revisit the thing I've been saying at the top of every episode for about the last 4 episodes, which is if you have unhealed trauma, it will impede and potentially block your ability to manifest. I have done 2 years worth of episodes for you to make your spiritual connection and to resolve your trauma. They precede this one. And then I have a bunch of work on YouTube as well. Different pick of cards can help you figure out what you're still trying to resolve. Your guides are always trying to help you in this process. When I talk about the law of attraction, I am talking about psychology-informed spirituality, which is also called psychospirituality. It's a slightly awkward term, so I don't use it that frequently. And the law of attraction is not actually approached as a magical practice, but if you begin to combine things, you will get greater results. Just as spirituality can help people find peace and healing, and psychology can help them understand their inner worlds. If you marry the two together, you are far more likely to have a peaceful and abundant existence because you will be healing, but also in touch with the idea that there is more to this world than this particular moment and your particular struggles, which is really what spirituality is. It is connecting you to a divine collective source, which whatever you might think the divine is or isn't, what it really is about is the highest level of consciousness that people can achieve that can help us be the best person that we can be within this lifetime, whatever that might constitute for you. So the very first part of the law of attraction and detachment is understanding that belief is at the core of all of this. Now, belief and faith are all often faith has a connotation in it that has to do with religion. Religion has been greatly misused as a power structure. Put aside what you think about religion and remember that faith is actually belief. So you can have faith in a divine power without it meaning that you attend a particular church and listen to that particular reverend or preacher or whomever. That is having a go-between between you and your power, your personal power, your empowerment. What you want to do is facilitate a greater connection to your highest self being in conjunction with the divine presence or the collective divine, however you wish to term it. It can be spirit, it can be source. It is, at the end of the day, all the same power. So we're going to start talking about detachment and how, why it's important and how to do it and some tools to help facilitate it. And before I do that, you can find me at therisingmoon.com exclusively. That's the only way to book me for a tarot card reading, a life coaching session. If you need advice on, I'm trying to make this happen, what should I do? Is there something unhealed that I'm unaware of? Because a lot of our subconscious wounds are in fact in our subconscious, and we do not realize that it guides the choices that we make. You can do that at therisingmoon.com. I have a Patreon as well, which has weekly and monthly spirit guide advice. Remember, your spirit guides are actually forms of teachers. Your spirit guides are part of a team that tries to help you. But the first thing that it does is kind of help parent you through life. And it's why some of the experiences that we have can be so challenging and why we need to embrace them as lessons. And that as soon as you begin embracing your challenges as lessons, you become closer to your spirit guide team because you don't resent them for the difficulties, which sometimes encompasses emotional trauma or pain that your particular path has had on it. You stop taking things quite so personally and understand that it's all a part of a greater lesson plan trying to connect you to your personal power and your ability to manifest your reality around you in the shape and the form with the quality of the energy that you desire. So you can find me at my Patreon for that as well, and you can find me at YouTube, Chromecast at the Rising Moon, which is where the video versions of these particular episodes and discussions go up. Let's get talking about detachment. So the concept is letting go. And when we talk about letting go of something, the first thing that it refers to in the law of attraction or when you're trying to manifest any form of magical, like I want more money, I want my soulmate, I want my home. The idea of detaching from the outcome is not the same thing as it won't take the shape and form that I want. And it's a little bit subtle in trying to figure out, well, how could that possibly be? If I want a house on the beach in this particular state, I want to be able to see this and I want to be able to see that. Isn't that an attachment to outcome? It is, but it's not the how, the when, and the where. And that's the thing that we're always trying to detach from when we talk about detachment. And it is part of the concept of trust the process. And when trust comes into play, that is where belief becomes an essential building block to trust. Because you have to believe that there is something that is, you're trying to harness its power. Remember, whatever it is you believe, whatever it is you practice, whatever you're drawn to, your beliefs are right for you. It does not negate anybody else's because their beliefs are right for them. But your beliefs are right for you, because the truth of the matter is that the universal divine truth is more sophisticated and complex and encompasses things that we would not understand in this shape and form. And so it is all broken down into narratives in order for us to kind of understand it, to process it. And so your approach to belief is right for you as well. And oddly enough, even atheism comes under the heading of complete belief, because it is absolute conviction of knowing what you believe is out there. And does that make it right? For some people, they come here and they want a lifetime where they are not connected to that particular divine source. For others, like somebody like me, it's like I didn't understand for a long time that nobody, like not nobody, that many people do not feel the connection that I have felt my whole life. And the easiest way to understand the concept of belief and faith is actually in Carl Sagan's movie Contact, which takes it from a scientific and then also spiritual concept in that particular story, in which Jodie Foster's character has an experience that to her, she's a scientist, she does not work on faith, but she has an experience that has her meeting with her dead father in the guise of an alien talking to her about what is to come. When she gets back to Earth, having taken this, interesting spatial journey that she has taken, she cannot prove that she spent this time in this particular world talking to her father. But she cannot admit, and will not admit, that maybe it didn't happen, because she knows in her heart it did. And that is, faith and science can coexist, in that there are certain things that you can have a very scientific mind, which is the law of attraction likes the idea of like energy attracting like energy, and then you can have a belief in something that does not have concrete proof, and that is what the realm of spirituality is. If you combine these two, it actually strengthens your manifestations. When we come to detachment, the first thing is to encompass belief. Whatever it is right for you. And you may be drawn to different teachers and have a cafeteria style application towards what you acquire from different people. There are a lot of people out there who teach different methods for the law of attraction. If it isn't working for you, start bringing in different tools, different voices, different teachers. We do sometimes exhaust what we can learn from a particular earthly mentor, because they're connected to their spiritual guides, and they might have, like, this is one of the textbooks that you need to read out of the 10 that will get you the degree in what you're trying to learn to manifest the reality and the life that you want. So never be afraid to say, I like that part of what you're teaching, I like that part of what you're teaching, I like that part of what you're teaching, and I'm going to bring it into my personal practice. It doesn't mean you have to adopt wholesale anybody's methods, because when you're talking about manifestation and the law of attraction, what you're really trying to do is harness your personal power, and your personal answers may in fact deviate from other people's personal answers that work perfectly for them, and may actually work for greater groups of people, because some people need that facilitation tool of a mentor to give them the step by step by step by step by step. More advanced manifestation and more advanced power management has to do with you do you, and I'm going to take part of that because it makes sense to me, but I am assembling my own toolkit and my own foundation, my own building blocks for kind of putting together the reality, the manifestations, and the life that is best for me. So, detachment. First part is you figure out what you believe. Figure out what you believe. And leave room for the idea that I could be wrong about something, and all that would mean is that something will expand for me at a different point. One of our greatest learning experiences is when we were incorrect about something and we learn more as we grow. The second part of detachment that can really help, and it's something that people kind of, because the journeys that we take can be so painful, it's hard not to take it personally. It's like, hey, if somebody like punches you in the face, you're going to have something against that person. The universe is not actually punching you in the face when you have been injured. They're trying to teach you how to deal with the pressures and the stress of the world around you in a way that is beneficial for you rather than hold you back. A lot of people are dealing with generational curses, which are also generational trauma. There's a lot of, I mean, a lot. The percentage of people who are actually dealing with long-term generational trauma is as much as 30% according to many different studies, and potentially higher. And that number just keeps climbing as we live in a society trying to control everybody with fear of deprivation, which makes them participate in these structures that hold up very, very rich people that, basically if they create a world in which you're terrified of not having enough money, my God, you're going to work, you're going to work, you're going to work when you're going to work. Detachment is also about being detached from fear. So you decide what you believe, faith being one of the first, belief and faith is one of the first things. The other part is letting go of it is called ego death, but letting go of the importance of past pain and instead looking at what has happened to you in order to understand your own emotional process and the things that you might need to strengthen to have the greatest access to your personal power. I have referred to my bum childhood and some other, crappy things that happened because I had enough trauma to Technically, I had too much trauma for a person. I just got lucky that in the sliding scale on trauma, even though I had so many different areas of trauma, it was a low enough level that I could understand it and still be functional enough to fix it for myself. So I always think I got lucky, but it was an incredibly painful process. Letting go of the pain of like, why, how unfair? Why did that happen to me? Life, unfortunately, is not necessarily based on fairness. It is based on what is available and making the best of the energy that is available to you. And the reality is that when we talk about this too shall pass, which is like such a reductive and vaguely obnoxious thing to say to somebody who might be in pain. Like that's just saying like, whatever, your pain doesn't matter, it's going to be gone. It matters very much when it's there. And so honoring the fact that, suffering people might yell ow a lot, but that it does, when you tell somebody the passage of time will help you with this because you will grow more and more distant from the source of that pain. And so actual time, the linear passage of time, aids in distance, which is also detachment. So look back at whatever you've gone through, whatever personal pain you may have encountered and the challenges that it causes you to undertake to feel, and look for the lesson in it. And the easiest one that is so incredibly painful is the idea of having your heart broken. And how can having a broken heart ever lead you towards greater empowerment? How can you end up viewing it even as a blessing? Quite simply, you get distance enough from the actual pain of it all, of the raw emotion of it, and you look back and you say, well, what did that teach me? What did it teach me about myself? Did it teach me better skills and discernment of who I will allow as a partner? Did it teach me not to read too much into small cues, but to go very much for how somebody acts in the 3D to figure out who they are? Did it teach me that sometimes you can want something so very, very, very much, but it will not work out because it's not the best thing for you in the long run? All of these things become true. Sometimes it will teach you that it's like, hey, no, it destroyed my ability to trust. You can rebuild your ability to trust because your ability to trust lies within. It is never in the hands of another person. You trust yourself to spot the red flags, to act accordingly, to be self-protective, and to have good boundaries. And all of these things can result from something as jarring and as painful as heartbreak. And it is never to be dismissive to the idea that somebody's pain doesn't matter because it will pass and lead and teach them a lesson. It is simply the silver lining of something bad happened, something difficult, a big struggle came my way. But I got through it partially because I kept telling myself I would. And if you're still struggling with something, that is the key. Keep telling yourself, I will get better. If you do not believe you will get better, then you won't. If you believe that you will, then incremental progress will be made until you're making great strides in it. Just keep telling yourself, whatever you're going through, I will get better. I will overcome this. I will figure out the methods and the means to make myself as whole as I can be. So detachment lies in looking at your pain from the past to learn the lessons from it, and then you let go of the importance of it. It's not the thing that defines you. Instead, you are in the here and the now. You are present. Detachment lies in being present in the present moment. Whenever you are struggling with rumination or with imagining the future, the first thing that you do, and I went over this in how to meditate with, or how to open your third eye without meditation. I did an episode on that. But like the extreme Cliff Notes version is details. Notice the details of something around you. Focus on the here and the now. It could be the wood grain in front of me. It could be any of the other things that I see. If I really need to bring myself into the present moment, you really bring your focus. Being mindful is having full control of where your focus goes. When you have full control of where your focus goes, it allows you to use your personal energy to amplify what you do want. When you're ruminating about something in the past, it is using your personal energy to go over a situation that will never ever be changed except for what the lessons that you have learned from it. So detachment lies in understanding that the struggles of the past, I did get through them, I did survive, I believe in my ability to survive. Now I'm looking at those situations for what did they teach me, and after I figure out what they taught me about myself and the ways that we sometimes get in our own way, then you let it go as being defining of your existence. When you are trying to manifest, you want your enjoyment and your blissful energy in the moment right now. When they talk about in the law of attraction, acting as if you already have what you are trying to manifest, that is part of it because you are trying to live a joyful experience moment to moment. Detachment also lies in being able to determine what I'm thinking right now is not good for me. I'm going to let it go and I'm going to focus on the present moment. Detachment lies in choice. You can, in fact, simply choose to, when you have an emotion and it's very heightened, you simply tell yourself, you talk yourself through it. Like, what's causing it? Is it fear? Is it anger? Is it a fear of abandonment that was exacerbated by someone's rejection? As a for instance, that's a really common one. When people talk about unrequited love being one of the most painful things people can experience, it is because it usually taps into people's core attachment issues and core attachment style. And a lot of people have a fear of abandonment because they either had emotionally distant or emotionally punishing caretakers. And sometimes there was actual physical abandonment as well. So abandonment issues are one of the biggest things that we have to recognize. And those are usually found, they get tweaked out in all of the painful experiences we have about breakups, about death, about loss, about change. So that's how you look at the struggles of the pain of the past. If you're actively in pain right now, it means that you have something to heal. Undertake your healing work first. You will manifest best from a place of being healed. Detachment is perspective of I am here, I am now, and anything that happens right now is likely a passing energy. And that is why understanding the pain that you're in, the first thing that you do is recognize when you're having a heightened emotion is on a logical level, you tell yourself it's just an emotion, it will pass. The one thing about, like, if you've lived in this body for any length of time, the one thing you know to be certain is that emotions are transient in nature, and we have a tendency to invest too much energy in trying to resolve the moment and not enough in understanding that this moment will actually pass and I can be detached from it. And it is one of the ways that we need to find the space to connect to being present, which is mindfulness. And then the idea of, we've covered how to handle the past, how to handle the present, and if you're still experiencing difficulties, what does detachment, which is really detachment from outcomes, don't become attached to outcomes, don't become attached to the narratives that you might tell yourself about what you want in the future. You are giving the energy out there an idea of the shape and the form that it is meant to take. But if you're too specific in it, you create a blocking or a rigid energy, and it is also attachment to outcomes. You want to think of your energy patterns in your mind as always forming a figure eight. There's the past going into the present, which is informed by the past going into the present, and what you want to do is upend that loop so that it goes forward by saying, I do want this, I do want that, but I do understand this or something better. This or something better is the way to achieve detachment in anything that you're trying to manifest. If you're like, hey, I need $15,000 to save my house, then you ask for at least $15,000 and this or something better. And then you also accept that it's like, well, if it doesn't happen, then for some reason I was meant to lose that house so that my other future could come into play. and that there will be something better. I am actually really good at manifesting, but I did at the beginning of a healing journey, the things that I wanted are completely, and I mean completely different than what I wanted when I was healed. And I wasn't seeking a painkiller for how much pain I was in. Instead, it's like, well, I'm not in really any pain any longer. What do I really want out of life? And that is the other way to achieve detachment, is being mindful, being present in the moment will tell you, what do I have in my life that I'm celebrating right now? What am I missing that is absolutely wonderful? Went for a walk this morning, as I always do before I work. It's a grounding exercise for me. I don't always do it. 98% of the time I do it. Sometimes I have a different schedule because rigidity in routines is also problematic. Remember to break your routines. But the thing I was noticing as I was walking around, which, can become background noise if we don't choose to focus on it. That's why being mindful, being present in the moment, which is choosing your focus, is so important. It's just the clear blue sky today is just ridiculously beautiful. And it's actually February where I am, but I'm in Southern California, so there are, flowers blooming and trees and like literal butterflies and things starting to fly around. And it just really, it's so beautiful where I am. But you can find beauty in something near you, in the color saturation of a book cover, in the quality of something that you're eating, in the feel of the sheets around you when you climb into bed at night. There is beauty and there is abundance in something. Being mindful, being present, celebrating the abundance that you have will increase the abundance going forward. In magic, specificity can matter. I want this by this date. If you're using a servitor, if you're calling anything towards you, specificity is what you are trying to do. But if you're working with the law of attraction, which most people aren't practicing ritual magic, I do, but I practice celestial and angelic magic, which is a healing form of magic. I've gone into what it is before. And so I do work with the law of attraction as well, partially because I help my clients work with it. So specificity with, I just want to say, permeable walls around the construct in your mind. Meaning that if you're looking, particularly if you want a house, I use examples that are the easiest to understand. If they don't apply to your particular situation, you start thinking about, well, how would it apply? If you really want a house, you spend your time trying to visualize by looking through maybe real estate listings, but you don't worry about the price point. You worry about the features. You don't worry about anything. You focus on what you like about a particular place. I like that view. I like that kitchen. I like that room. That's wonderful. And what you are doing is feeding your subconscious, which is really where our imaginative manifesting world begins, the images it will need to bring the things that you want to towards you. Resolving your pain and understanding the past, becoming detached from the idea that life is happening to you rather than for you, is one of the things that can help you learn your lessons, that will allow you to be at peace with whatever has happened in your life. And the reality is that sometimes people come here for very difficult, short, or traumatic experiences, and what would be the worth of that in understanding what that feels like. The idea that we are feeling beings is part of the reason that a divine consciousness can choose over and over again to manifest in a physical form, to experience life in this form, even though it can frequently be challenging and literally painful. The worth in that is that it teaches us about the full range of what it means to be human. So even difficult lives teach that soul something about the value of what a life in this form is. And we're always trying to evolve. We're always trying to reach towards our greater power, towards our expanding power, which is part of the idea of detaching from your outcomes. So you don't worry about the how, the when, or the where. You just start believing that it will happen. You use affirmations whenever you begin to doubt. Don't smother your feelings, process them first. Usually talk yourself through fear. Of course you're afraid. It's a terrifying world. Oh my God, have you looked at the news? Maybe don't. These are the things to talk yourself through. We live in a world trying to control us with fear. Fear is going to be the biggest one that you have to combat. Work on your heart chakra as well whenever you're experiencing fear, but never try to stomp down on a figure, be like, oh, hey, what's going on, to that little part of you that is afraid. Give it a hug, give it a snack, talk to it about what's going on with it. These are the ways that we detach, because that is taking a different perspective on something is not beyond your control, even when it's happening to you. We have a lot of control over how we react to something. And that is, detachment is not being unfeeling. Detachment is not the same thing as not wanting something. You have to have a kind of a fuzzy idea of what you want and let the universe start painting the specifics of the picture. Now, when we start coming into, people want to be able to manifest partners and long-term relationships, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's really problematic when we say it has to be with this one person, because sometimes it's really not possible. It really isn't possible for any manner of things. Um, but also, sometimes we want things that we don't understand. We get blinded by what we want. Desire blinds us. Love and the rose-colored glasses mean that flags don't look like red flags, they just look like flags. When you're wearing rose-colored glasses around love, the red flags frequently just look like flags. So sometimes we're missing something. If you have been trying to manifest a specific person, a specific person, a specific person, and you can't get it through, the idea of detachment is accepting there might be something I don't know about that person that makes them the wrong person for me. And I need to accept that my guides are on my side. Detachment is also accepting that the universe, when you're reaching for it, is trying to help you, is believing that even when the path is difficult, it's like, well, maybe you needed to learn lessons about resilience, which is also about perseverance. When we believe in our resilience and our perseverance, we have self-confidence. Self-confidence gives us greater access to our power. Some of the most difficult things that we go through actually build the greatest strength within us. So when we're talking about, I wanted this one thing and it didn't work out, accepting that there may be a really good reason that you just can't see from your vantage point. It's like accepting that all of the answers about spirituality are equally valid because we're all looking at it from this particular area. We're standing inside a house trying to understand the specifics of the architecture of the outside, and it can only be theoretical if you've never been outside that house. We are standing inside a house that we have not yet been outside of and trying to understand the specifics of that structure. And so a lot of it is like, well, I bet this is that, and I bet this is that. And the narrative takes shape and form that is spiritually informed. So it is truth in the form that we can accept and understand it. So if you've had something that did not come to you and did not come to you, detachment is repeating to yourself, I trust that there is a good reason for that. I'm going to use a super extreme example that actually came from a TikTok I was watching. Every now and then the true crime things will cross my path because I frankly don't understand darkness and other people all that well. And so I have to learn more about it because like that's an important part of understanding people. Because of what I do, because I believe in life's purpose and a bunch of other things, I see the best version of people that they can be because I'm supposed to help guide them towards that. It's just my gig. It was what my soul signed up for, but it does mean I can miss very dark motives in people. And so I will watch these true crime things. And a true crime thing came across of a girl, I believe it was in the early 90s, might have been late 80s, who she was 15 years old. She got in a fight with her parents. She had her learner's permit, took her truck to a particular nature preserve, and disappears. Is found, 3 days later or so, face down, dead in the mud. She drowned. And at first they weren't sure that there was any foul play involved, but, later would become convinced that there was, and in fact, she had been murdered. And many years later, like 25 years later, advanced DNA testing, because they had a very pristine sample of something on her, some hairs that were on her, were matched to somebody who I guess had used, a relative had used Ancestry.com or something. And this guy worked for the Park Service, which, Park Service rangers are usually the best people in the world, honest to goodness. But he worked for the forestry. He was in testing waters or something. And he had this completely innocuous life. When people found out it was this guy, they were amazed because he was boring. Now, how do they absolutely know it was him? Well, when the police interviewed him about this and showed him the picture, he visibly started to shake. It was very clear it was him. He had murdered this girl when he was about a 22-year-old college student, and he had sexually assaulted her and drowned her. And he left the interview with the police, drove down the road, called 911, pulled over to the side of the road, and shot himself. And whenever I think about that, I'm always struck by the detail of not only does this guy get to live literal decades after he did something absolutely like, holy moly, it was some sort of crime of opportunity. He hadn't even stalked her or anything. Was that he was married and had children. And that his wife would be at home learning about her husband's end of life and the reason for it. And I was just absolutely astonished by how world wrecking that would be for her. It's not about devaluing the victim at all. It's like, it's good that they caught this man, but I felt such compassion and sympathy for this poor woman who had married somebody and had children with him and apparently presented in such a way that he was just a little bit dull. But apparently was, who knows what else he did. But one of the things that he did was murder a 15-year-old when he was 22 years old and go on to have a long career with the Forestry Service, marry and have 2 children. And what a mind bender it would be to find that out. And it's not that you want to assume that if something didn't work out with someone or with a situation that it's like maybe they're secretly a murderer. But there can be things we don't understand about people from our surface interaction with them. And because we see the world as we are, we can miss things in other people. So if something hasn't worked out, part of detachment is the full acceptance of it wasn't for me. And I may not understand why, but I do understand that there is something trying to guide me through a healing process, and I should trust it. And really, at the root of detachment is trust. Is trusting both in yourself, in the idea that the universe is trying to work its magic through you. If you believe in spirit guides, which not everybody does, but if you believe in spirit guides, those are a team of basically your professors in a university that's trying to teach you everything you can learn about being the best and the most powerful version of you. Is acceptance of things happen in the time that they are meant to. And that goes back to the divine timing episode that I did a while ago, but very shortly, divine timing does not exist on a clock or on a calendar. Divine timing exists in a state of energetic readiness. And that is the thing to repeat to yourself when you think of, like, why isn't it here yet? I've done everything I'm supposed to. That is a doubting energy. If it hasn't happened yet, it's not time yet. But that doesn't mean the time won't get there. And if you feel like your life is being frittered away, waiting for something, you're missing something in the here and now that is worthwhile. Because that is actually where the quality of life is found, in the moment to moment. So those are the things to remind yourself when you're having trouble in the detachment phase. It's going to happen when it's meant to. I should pay close attention to my energy levels. I should practice really good self-care. Have strong boundaries, but know that there is the idea that being of service to other people, when we can energetically do so, is beneficial to us because it opens us up to greater abundant energy. And when you're really trying to manifest something, don't decide I want to be the world's best author. Just write and say, I wish for my art to return to me the abundance and prosperity that will fulfill my life. And that is what you're really always trying to manifest. You can have very specific goals. You're trying to develop this, you're trying to make that happen, you're trying to make the other thing happen. But when you're trying to do your affirmations, you talk about trying to manifest abundance and prosperity to bring me the life that will bring me the greatest happiness and joy. I live joyfully from moment to moment, believing that everything that is meant for me is coming to me in perfect divine timing. Divine timing does not exist on a clock or on a calendar. It exists in my state of readiness to receive. Detachment puts you into a receiving energy. So I hope this has been helpful in the idea that detachment is taking a step back and examining your perspective and consciously choosing to let things go. To let go of the slights, the insults, the revenge, whatever you might have. It is an aspect within forgiveness as well, but it is also an aspect of being able to heal, because what keeps us stuck in an energy is investing too much in the pain of a situation, is investing too much in the ow or the whatever feeling. Our feelings are the things that make us invest too much in the moment to moment. So when we're having heightened feelings, if you've done all your work, particularly if you're suffering, because I help long-term trauma survivors, it's why I refer to that so frequently. If you are dealing with healing trauma, first of all, don't be impatient with yourself. If you are still having difficulty with something, it just means you have an energetic and emotional injury. It just means you're on the athletic injured reserve list. The law of attraction really asks us to find our energetic athlete within, knowing that if I put in the work on recovering my ability to have a good balance within, recovering my ability to have good perspective, recovering my equilibrium and equanimity in any set of circumstances that will allow you to process the feelings, never use it to stomp your feelings down. Sometimes you need to go have a good cry, you need to go get mad, you need to let it out. Let something go. Letting go is not just letting go of the importance. It is allowing yourself to experience an emotion. And when you're in that detached, it's just an emotion that will pass. You let it happen, but it's very proportionate, because even when you're mad, you're like, wow, I'm really mad. I wonder why I'm so mad. Is this reminding me of something? Oh, yeah, it is. Like, you catch hold of the greater tendrils that reach to the past, because even when we let go of something, it doesn't mean it's gone. Closure does not mean eradication. It means resolution. You can resolve all of the pain of the past through detachment. And through the resolution of the pain of the past brings in the abundance of the present, expanding into the future. So watch the terms that you use when you are talking to yourself about how long something might be taking. I wonder what I'm working on. I wonder what I should work on now. I wonder what I'm supposed to be experiencing. And remember that part of our work is simply in enjoying life. Is actually taking a pretty informed view of well, I do have to worry about money. I do have to worry about that, or I don't have enough of this yet. But what I can do is find what is really awesome in this moment, regardless of the challenges that might be coming up in the future, because that is the other thing, is accepting there will be challenges, because that is the nature of life. Is that when we want a perfect and uninterrupted, even path going forward, we forget how bored we would get. Dissatisfaction is bred from unvaried energy. And then the other thing that goes into detachment is the idea of disappointment, letting go of disappointment. Disappointment comes from unmet expectations. If you achieve a level of detachment, then you don't have such particular expectations of any given set of circumstances or people. You just expect overall that the overarching energy, not assigned to one particular individual or one particular situation, will return to you what you want. So if it's not coming from that particular person or that particular situation, it's not meant to, and you just kind of let it go. Disappointment is also one of the hardest things for trauma survivors to handle, because disappointment is the opposite energy of hope. And so hope is one of the hardest things for a lot of trauma survivors to achieve, because they don't truly believe that the future can be completely different from the past, because they've had such difficult, painful, and challenging past energies. Heal the way you receive a challenge and other people's behavior towards you. Always try to keep yourself as safe as possible, and know that your entire future can be completely different. But that if you've had a set of disappointments, one of the ways that you can heal yourself from that is admitting to self that, it came from unmet expectations. And that's the lesson I'm trying to learn. Have expectations of yourself, of your process. Always be kind, always be compassionate, and always be gentle with yourself. But if somebody lets you down in a particular way, the pain that comes from that comes from your expectation that they will behave in a certain way that serves the situation or the needs that you are projecting onto a moment. And what happens when we're disappointed is recognizing that part. Where's this feeling coming from? They have the right to do what they're going to do. They have their own free will. They have their own journey. They did not wish to participate in this process with me. And you just let it go. Other people may not like you because they have their own view on the world. Other people may not in any way serve the function that you're hoping that they are. And if you are willing to go, it's okay, it's something else then. The right thing comes along when you let go of the wrong thing. And letting go of disappointment by understanding that, expectation is the same thing as an attachment to outcome. Oh, eureka, there we go, there it is. Expectations and attachment to outcomes are practically synonymous. So let go of your expectations of the shape and the form that something will take, but constantly feed that creative part of you, because the part of you that creates is in fact your imagination, your creativity. And the other thing that can help with detachment is investing your creative energy into almost anything you can name. I talked about that in connecting to the ancestors as well, is that your self-sufficient energy will give you confidence, and your creative energy causes you to take the matter and the energy around you and convert it into a shape or into a form that you desire. So working with creativity in the way that feels right to you is the best thing that you can do. And it can include investing in TV shows or books or anything else. You don't have to be the source of the creation, but if you can create through things like food and a couple of other things, then that is another thing that will tie you into your ability to create and will also help you with detachment and help you practice belief in self and belief in the idea that I have power over the energy around me, because I take what is around me and I create something with it. Every single time you cook, that is something that is going to be happening as well. It is one of the reasons that really investing your energy into the ways to make your life better in the here and the now and the moment is always invaluable. But also recognizing and being willing to look at that came from my disappointment, which is about an unmet expectation, because sometimes all I could see was what I wanted and I didn't see what else was in that particular picture. Accepting that there is something that is, if you're here and your guides are up here, they have a greater view of everything. And that you have to accept that if you've been asking your guides for help with something, with help for something, with help for something, and it hasn't happened yet, it's not that they're saying we don't love you and it will never happen. They're saying you have to believe us. You have to trust us. Trust this process. Trust that we're here for you. If you don't believe in guides, but instead you're with your higher self, or some people refer to it as timeline jumping in the best timeline, which is the higher self concept as well through the law of attraction, is that there's a part of you that is aware of how things will turn out. It's like, no, it wasn't meant to be that. You're wasting your energy on that. Let go. Choosing, actually saying, I let go, I detach, the past is the past. Anything with a rhyming cadence helps with flow of the energy that you're trying to achieve. Talking to yourself about, I'm letting go of the disappointments and the pain of the past because I've learned my lessons from them. And if you still experience, like you think about something and the emotion comes back, which is a big thing of PTSD, you're still healing something, give it time, be kind to yourself. It's just an injury. The idea of treating yourself as an energetic athlete and your training, your strength training through all of this is one of the things that will help you manifest. The very first step in detachment is understanding I need to let that go for my own good. I need to let that go. And sometimes we can't let go of something until we've understood it because it's still impeding us in a subconscious manner in the way that we interact. Frequently, self-esteem is deeply, deeply damaged by childhood trauma and other rejecting experiences, because we live in a world that, tells us to crave acceptance so much. There's a lot of pain when people feel unaccepted. And choosing to let that go, understanding you are who you are for a reason. Your experiences happen to you for a reason. And it's not because you're being punished. And it's not because you're strong enough to handle it, although you're wise enough to. That there is a part of you that is able to encompass the lessons, to take the steps on the journey that will bring you the life that you want. And just enjoy every single moment to the best of your ability, and you'll be living in the present, letting go of the past, experiencing detachment from outcomes for the future. And whenever something looks like it's taking shape, I have a tool for you to help you with continued detachment, because that's the hardest part. When it's right there, when it's like, oh, I can see it, I have a meeting on Tuesday, instead of being focusing on, it's got to turn out, it's got to turn out, tell yourself, I think it's going to happen like this. I think it's going to happen like that, but I'm not getting attached to that narrative. I'm not getting attached to that narrative. That's the way it looks like it's shaping up. I'm not getting attached to that narrative. And I do predictive tarot as well as healing tarot. And what happens when you get, like, it's going to turn out like this? You were meant to get that answer to help you with the struggles or the challenges of what is coming towards you. It's a little bit of a syllabus for the lesson that you are about to learn. So it does hold a place as well. Okay, so this has been Logical Magic, examining esoterica, trying to practice detachment to amplify the law of attraction, what it is, how to achieve it, and how to just, learn how to relax into the idea that our need for controlling our outcomes, comes from a fearful place. Because it is, when we think we're in control of something, we think we're safe. And the hardest one for people to encompass is the idea that, hey, listen, we're simply not safe. Life isn't safe. We can have lives that are safer than others. Some of us have a more privileged experience that provides more safety, but that life in and of itself is not safe. I talked about that last week when talking about the three most dangerous things we do, we don't think of as dangerous. We have learned to have, which are walking up and down stairs, getting in and out of the shower, or jumping into a car. We do a lot of things that by rote, without even thinking about, this is inherently dangerous. If all I cared about was my physical safety, I'd be scared right now. If you can start approaching your entire life with, yeah, almost everything has an inherent level of danger, and here is why. Because there is death within life. It is part of it. There is death, there is calamity. It can happen, but I believe in my ability to overcome any challenges that come my way. And I release fear because I know me. And even if the worst happens, I can pick myself up, dust myself off, and keep on going because I've done it so many times. And that was the value of a very traumatic journey at different points of my life, is that if nothing else, it proved to me, my gosh, I'm really good at overcoming crap. And as soon as I started believing that, less and less and less and less crap would happen. Belief in self is also part of belief. And so whatever struggles you might be facing, whatever you need to detach from, accepting it as part of a process to help you understand yourself better. And if you think it's always about getting the house, getting the car, that is not the point of abundance. Abundance and prosperity can bring you wonderful things, but it is acquisition of stuff is not all that abundance is. I described what abundance really is when I was talking about taking a walk and realizing, oh my God, the sky is the most beautiful color today and it's the perfect temperature. And it was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful morning. And that, living in a beautiful energy from moment to moment, that's what abundance is. And for some people, it might have diamond rings, and for some people, it might be a cabin in the woods. But those are equally abundant energies depending on where you see and value abundance. Okay, so this has been Logical Magic, examining esoterica. I hope you found that helpful. I have a couple more interviews coming up in the future as well, and we're going to be continuing to talk about ways to manage your manifesting and your magical energy. If you need to find me, you can find me at therisingmoon.com exclusively. That's the only way to book me. You can find me at Chromecast at the Rising Moon as well, and then I have a Patreon, weekly and monthly advice, and I do different things at different times with it, and I hope you're able to join me. Take care, be well, see you next week.